You are standing in Edinburgh at the beginning of the 18th century. From afar, the city appears like a dark mass of stone cut by the grey light of the north. At its crown stands the castle, rising sheer from a deep black volcanic rock. Below it, layers of stone rooftops are stacked tightly together, clinging to a narrow ridge that stretches from west to east. Space here is limited, cramped, and dark. Streets are narrow. People move slowly, pressed between carts, goods, and the smoke of cooking fires. Yet within this compressed space, 18th century Edinburgh became an intellectual center of Europe. After the year 1707, the city was not only the capital of Scotland, but also a gathering place for lawyers, physicians, philosophers, and scholars who met, argued, and wrote new ideas about society, science, and human nature. Conversations took place in taverns, reading rooms, and cramped homes in the heart of the Old Town. So what allowed intellect to flourish in a city that was overcrowded, unsanitary, and constantly living under the shadow of power? To understand 18th century Edinburgh, one must look at how geography, architecture, authority, and intellect coexisted within a space that could not expand. And that journey begins with the Black Rock now lifting the entire city before your eyes. You are seeing Edinburgh of the 17th century through an AI reconstruction based on engravings, historical maps, and contemporary records, recreating the grey light, dark stone, and slow rhythm of life in the Old Town. This reconstruction does not tell the story of individuals or events, but focuses on a densely populated living space, where architecture, trade, and daily life unfolded at high density, both intimate and suffocating. The journey is a walking one, beginning at the volcanic rock that raises the castle high, then following the ridge into the narrow closes where the city operates every day. Before you lies the terrain that determined the entire shape of Edinburgh. The castle stands atop a sheer, dark, steep volcanic rock, a hard volcanic plug, isolated from the surrounding valley, allowing no leveling or expansion. From a very early time, this was the highest point, carrying both military significance and setting the orientation of the entire city. From the foot of the castle, Edinburgh could develop only along a single ridge extending eastward, later called the Royal Mile. On both sides were steep slopes, forcing every street, market, church, and residential area to be compressed into the same narrow axis. People, goods, and daily life were compelled to converge here every day. Unable to expand horizontally, living space became increasingly compressed. The terrain not only shaped the street layout, but also determined density, rhythm of life, and how the community had to share a steep, narrow space. As the viewpoint lowers, tightly packed stone rooftops appear along the slope, leading us away from geological foundations and into human life. You are standing at the boundary between terrain and human life. When the city no longer had room to expand, the question was not where to build, but how to build. In Edinburgh of the 17th century, buildings did not spread outward, but were forced to rise upward. Stone was not only the foundation, but also became the primary material of an architectural form born from spatial limitation. From here, the terrain is no longer abstract. It is present in walls, staircases, and compressed living spaces. Each building is a direct response to natural constraint, the way humans adapted and survived in a city that could not expand further. Stone tenements rose tightly side by side, often 6 to 10 stories high. Each small apartment measured only about 20 to 30 square meters, yet could hold an entire large family. Within the same building, The lower floors were occupied by poor laborers, the middle floors by craftsmen and small traders, while the upper floors, brighter and better ventilated, belonged to wealthier families. This organization created an intensely shared way of life. Staircases, wells, and passageways were communal. Sounds, smells, and daily activities spread through every level. High density allowed trade and encounters to happen constantly, but privacy became a rarity. As the viewpoint lowers from the ridge to the layered stone rooftops, we leave raw geology behind and enter the world of architecture, where compression is visible in every alley and every step. You are stepping into a space where power is always present within sight. Whether in the market, in a narrow close, or on the high street, your gaze sooner or later meets the castle. The dark mass of rock above is not only terrain, but a constant sign of control. Gray light strikes the stone walls. The castle's shadow falls over the rooftops, making that presence unmistakable. After the year 1707, when Scotland was unified under a shared parliament, Edinburgh became a city with a permanent military presence. Power, therefore, did not reside far away in a palace, but accompanied everyday life. Along the Royal Mile, guards stood watch. At intersections, soldiers blended into the flow of buying and selling, their uniforms standing out against gray stone and coarse cloth. What you see is the castle above and soldiers in the street. How it operates is the control of order, routes, and gathering points, and the feeling it leaves behind. For some, reassurance; for others, pressure. No political explanation is needed. It is enough to observe footsteps slow and voices lower when passing a guard post. What makes Edinburgh distinctive is that power is not hidden behind walls, nor separated from civilian life. It hangs directly overhead, both symbolic and real, shaping the rhythm of the streets and the way people behave each day. From here, leaving the high street, we move into public spaces where social classes meet, the intersection of power, commerce, and everyday life. Here, the greatest paradox of 18th century Edinburgh begins to reveal itself. Dim light slips through narrow streets, reflecting off damp stone and cooking smoke. Crowds press between tall tenements, the smells of daily life accumulating in enclosed space. Waste is thrown into the closes, dirty water running along street channels. The old town still carries a medieval form, cramped, dark, and unsanitary. Yet it was precisely within this setting that a distinctive intellectual life took shape. The 18th century was the era of the Scottish Enlightenment. Edinburgh became a meeting point for lawyers, philosophers, physicians, and scholars. They did not gather in grand squares or imposing academies, but in taverns, debating clubs, and small reading rooms embedded among residential buildings. High population density and short distances allowed ideas to spread quickly and encounters to occur frequently. What you see is a crowded and filthy city. How it functions is an enforced closeness that pushes people to exchange ideas and challenge one another. And the outcome is that progressive thought flourished not despite, but in part because of that harsh environment. Edinburgh did not resolve this paradox. Rather, the paradox itself formed the city's character. Before we step into the public spaces where social classes share the same urban stage. After more than 300 years, the structure of Edinburgh still bears the clear imprint of the 18th century. The main street axis continues to follow the ridge. Narrow closes still open between stone facades, and light falls into the old town along the same familiar direction. What remains is not only form, but the movement routes that once led people from private space into public life. That layout still allows people today to walk the same paths and see the city from the same angles as 18th century residents. Edinburgh is therefore not a museum city, but a place where past and present overlap. Narrow streets, stacked buildings, and traces of power continue to shape the city. Life changes, but the foundations do not. If you are still listening, let me know which city you are listening from. And for the next journey, which city would you like us to recreate, and in which period? Paris, Rome, Constantinople, Edo, or Edinburgh from a different era? Leave a comment below. And for now, goodbye. And see you again on the next journey.